Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are diving into one of the most intense geopolitical situations unfolding right now in Europe. A situation that is causing real anxiety inside Moscow. Poland's rapid NATO-aligned military moves, combined with strategic positioning along the eastern frontier, have started creating what many analysts are calling a wave of Russian panic. The dynamics around Kaliningrad, Belarus, and the broader NATO-Russia confrontation are shifting at a speed that even Russian military planners did not anticipate. Poland, once considered a frontline state merely for defensive purposes, has transformed into one of NATO's most strategically important military powerhouses. This transformation is not happening quietly. It is loud, aggressive, and fully aligned with NATO's long-term objective of containing Russian influence in Eastern Europe. These moves are forcing Russia to rethink not only its tactics, but also its broader regional strategy. The Polish government has openly declared that its security depends on overwhelming strength, not passive deterrence. Poland has begun modernizing its military faster than nearly any other NATO country, purchasing advanced weapon systems, upgrading its air force, and expanding its ground capabilities. This dramatic shift has not gone unnoticed by Russia. In fact, Moscow's statements, media broadcasts, and military repositioning strongly indicate growing concern. One of the major triggers of Russian panic is Poland's unprecedented purchase of advanced American and Korean weapons. The acquisition of HIMARS rocket systems, Abrams tanks, F-35 fighters, Patriot missile systems, and South Korean K-2 tanks and K-9 howitzers is not just a modernization effort. It is a declaration that Poland is preparing for a future where it must be capable of stopping or slowing any Russian advance independently if required. This level of preparedness has alarmed Russian analysts who see Poland as becoming a key offensive and defensive hub for NATO. Russia's fear is not only about Poland's growing firepower, but also about its strategic location. Positioned right next to the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad and sharing borders with Belarus, Poland becomes a direct counterweight to Russian military zones. Moscow has always treated Kaliningrad as one of its most sensitive regions, a heavily militarized zone equipped with nuclear-capable missiles and advanced air defenses. The increase of Polish and NATO activity around this area has sparked deep strategic anxiety in Russian circles. What is particularly worrying for Russia is Poland's new military doctrine, which emphasizes rapid response, long-range strikes, and readiness for immediate confrontation. This doctrine aligns with NATO's broader forward defense strategy, placing pressure directly on the Russian Western Military District. Moscow perceives this as a challenge not only to its border security, but also to its long-term sphere of influence. Another source of Russian panic comes from Poland's deepening coordination with the Baltic states. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have all increased their military cooperation with Poland, creating a unified defensive line along NATO's eastern flank. For Russia, this united front is far more difficult to challenge or intimidate. It removes the possibility of isolating one country politically or militarily. This shift further tightens NATO's hold near Kaliningrad and Belarus, creating what Russian analysts describe as a tightening strategic noose. Poland's moves are also transforming NATO logistics. By building new bases, strengthening old ones, and improving supply routes, Poland is becoming the main transit hub for NATO reinforcements to the east. This gives NATO the ability to mobilize forces rapidly in case of any Russian aggression. Moscow sees this as a direct blow to its strategy of rapid local superiority, which depends on quick and overwhelming force before NATO can respond. With Poland becoming a strong logistical shield, such a strategy becomes less effective. A major point of tension is the Suwałki Gap, a narrow stretch of land between Poland and Lithuania that connects Kaliningrad to Belarus. Military planners have long considered this the most dangerous spot in Europe. If Russia were to cut this corridor, it would isolate the Baltic states from the rest of NATO. Poland has reinforced this region drastically, deploying more troops, surveillance systems, and armored units. Russia interprets this as NATO preparing to defend the gap at all costs, which reduces Moscow's options in any future conflict scenario. Another aspect intensifying Russian panic is Poland's growing leadership within NATO. For decades, Western European nations dominated NATO's strategy. But with rising tensions in the east, Poland has gained louder influence. Warsaw's warnings about Russia, once dismissed as overreaction, are now taken seriously. The shift in NATO's center of gravity toward Eastern Europe is something Russia never wanted to see. It means its immediate neighbors now have more power, more influence, and more freedom to push for stronger containment policies. Poland has also increased its defense budget to levels exceeding many Western European states. With a goal of reaching more than 4% of its GDP spending on defense, Poland is sending a clear message to Moscow. It is not waiting for others to protect it. Instead, it is becoming one of the most heavily armed nations in Europe. This independent buildup destabilizes Russian strategy because it reduces Moscow's long-term assumption that Europe will always stay militarily dependent on the United States. Perhaps the most sensitive factor for Russia is Poland's outspoken stance on Ukraine. Poland has consistently supported Ukraine, supplied weapons, trained soldiers, and pushed for tougher sanctions on Russia. It has framed the Ukrainian war not as a distant conflict, but as an existential threat to Europe. This messaging has influenced NATO policies and shaped Western thinking. Russian analysts warn that Poland's political activism is creating a pro-Ukraine, anti-Russia bloc inside NATO that Moscow finds extremely troubling. Russian media has repeatedly accused Poland of preparing for an offensive role, claiming that Polish leaders want to weaken Russia and expand NATO dominance in the region. While these narratives are amplified for domestic audiences, they reveal genuine Russian fears. The Kremlin views Poland as redefining its own role from a defensive buffer state to an assertive power capable of shaping regional outcomes. Russian military officials have responded with sharp warnings. They have increased air patrols near Poland, moved additional equipment to Kaliningrad, and expanded joint drills with Belarus. These actions reflect concern rather than confidence. Russia cannot ignore the rapid military transformation happening next door. It also cannot stretch its forces too thin, especially while committing resources in Ukraine. This creates a dilemma that heightens anxiety inside Moscow. Another factor fueling Russian panic is the presence of U.S. troops in Poland. The United States has established permanent military infrastructure in the country, including command centers, supply hubs, and rotational combat units. This deepens the American commitment to Poland's security. For Russia, this means any potential conflict with Poland automatically becomes a conflict with the United States, dramatically raising the stakes. Moscow has long feared direct American influence expanding near its borders, and Poland has become a central platform for that influence. Poland's missile defense capabilities are another crucial trigger. Systems like Patriot and future Aegis ashore frameworks make it difficult for Russia to execute missile-based intimidation tactics. Moscow relies heavily on missile supremacy as a deterrent. Poland's defensive shield reduces Russian leverage and forces it to reconsider escalation strategies. This shift adds to the sense of losing control over the region. Other NATO countries are also cooperating closely with Poland in exercises and joint planning. This strengthens interoperability and sends a powerful symbolic message. Poland is not isolated, and NATO stands ready to defend its eastern allies. This unity undermines Russia's hope of exploiting political divisions within Europe. Moscow sees this growing cohesion as a long-term strategic setback. Russian political commentators frequently warn about Poland's confidence, calling it dangerous, provocative, or unpredictable, but in reality, this tone reveals their concern. Poland is no longer the passive actor Russia once viewed it as. It is assertive, heavily armed, closely integrated with NATO, and strategically located. Another key issue is Poland's ability to influence energy routes. By moving away from Russian gas and supporting alternative European energy pipelines, Poland has weakened Moscow's economic leverage. Russia has used energy dependence as a political tool for decades. Poland's resistance breaks that pattern and encourages others to follow, reducing Moscow's influence over Europe. Furthermore, Poland's cybersecurity initiatives and cooperation with NATO intelligence have increased significantly. This gives NATO stronger visibility into Russian operations, reducing Moscow's ability to conduct covert or hybrid actions in the region. Russian officials have publicly expressed concern about Poland's growing intelligence sharing capacity. Poland has also invested heavily in fortifying its border with Belarus. This is not only about migration, but also about preventing hybrid attacks that Russia and Belarus have previously attempted. Strong border defenses reduce the effectiveness of such tactics and show Russia that Poland is prepared for both military and non-military threats. The modernization of Poland's air force is another critical component. The acquisition of F-35s, along with advanced training and support systems, gives the Polish Air Force capabilities far superior to what Russia expected from a regional neighbor. These aircraft can penetrate advanced air defenses and disrupt Russian operations. Their presence significantly complicates Russia's planning for any future conflict. Russia is also alarmed by Poland's drone and electronic warfare advancements. Modern battlefield environments rely heavily on drones for surveillance and targeting. Poland is developing systems that match or exceed Russian capabilities in some areas. This further reduces Moscow's advantage in the region. The political unity inside Poland regarding defense policy is something Russia did not expect. Regardless of domestic disagreements, Polish leaders across the spectrum agree on one thing: Russia is a long-term threat. This unity ensures that Poland's military buildup will continue regardless of which political party is in power. Another point Moscow fears is Poland's influence on European strategic culture. Many European countries, especially in the West, were previously cautious about spending too much on defense. Poland's strong stance and warnings about Russia have inspired others to rethink their military priorities. This is creating a wave of rearmament across Europe, something that reduces Russia's long-term leverage. Russian policymakers understand that this shift is not temporary. It represents a permanent restructuring of European security, one in which Poland plays a central role. This makes Moscow nervous because it signals the end of the era where Russia could intimidate or destabilize Eastern Europe easily. Poland's partnership with South Korea is another surprising element. By acquiring hundreds of tanks and artillery pieces quickly, Poland bypassed European production delays and shocked Russian analysts. They expected slow, bureaucratic procurement. Instead, Poland executed the fastest large-scale military modernization program in Europe. This speed undermines Russian assumptions about NATO's response time. Another factor is Poland's growing role in NATO nuclear planning. Although Poland does not possess nuclear weapons, it has shown willingness to participate in NATO nuclear sharing programs if necessary. Russia interprets this as a direct threat, even though the purpose is deterrence. Russia is also worried about Poland's younger generation, which is increasingly pro-European, pro-NATO, and aware of Russian strategies. This cultural shift means Poland's long-term political orientation is secure, reducing Moscow's ability to influence public opinion. Combined, all these developments create a situation where Russia feels surrounded by stronger, more unified, and better prepared NATO states. Poland stands at the center of this transformation, acting as a shield for the West and a pressure point against Russian ambitions. Inside Russian think tanks, analysts frequently discuss Poland's rise as one of the most significant challenges to Russian foreign policy. They warn that if Poland continues at this pace, Russia may lose strategic dominance in the region entirely. This fear drives Moscow's increasingly aggressive rhetoric and military gestures. Russian generals acknowledge privately that Poland's long-range artillery, advanced tanks, and modern air power could make any offensive operation extremely costly. The era when Russia expected an easy advance into Eastern Europe is over. Poland's capabilities fundamentally change the balance. Poland's alliances with Scandinavian countries also play a role. With Finland and Sweden joining NATO, Poland gains northern partners that strengthen the defense of the Baltic Sea region. This development further restricts Russia's freedom of movement and reduces Kaliningrad's strategic flexibility. Russian naval commanders are especially concerned about Poland's influence in shaping NATO maritime strategy. Control over shipping lanes, submarine monitoring, and coastal defense cooperation are all areas where Poland contributes significantly. These actions challenge Russia's ability to project power into the Baltic Sea. Even Russia's own population has begun expressing concern about Poland's rapid rise. Russian social media occasionally features discussions about Poland's strength and its alignment with the United States. While these conversations are often censored, they reveal a growing awareness that Russia may be losing the strategic race. The fact that Poland openly considers Russia its primary threat also shapes Russian thinking. Unlike some Western European states that hope for diplomatic solutions, Poland prepares for the worst-case scenario. This seriousness puts pressure on Russian decision-makers who realize they are facing an opponent that will not be easily intimidated. Finally, Russian panic is amplified by the global narrative. International media, analysts, and policymakers acknowledge Poland's growing influence and military power. This global recognition further isolates Russia diplomatically and strengthens Poland's credibility. As the situation evolves, one thing is clear: Poland is no longer a secondary NATO member. It is becoming a central pillar of European defense, a country shaping the region's future, and a critical obstacle to any Russian expansionist ambitions. Russia's panic is not just about Poland's weapons. It is about Poland's strategy, unity, location, alliances, logistics, influence, and determination. All these elements combine into a formidable force, one that Russia cannot ignore, and one that continues to reshape the security landscape of Europe.